A rusted ring, muddy paw prints, a boy on the porch holding a magnifying glass. Dusty was just another stray until he started digging. What he uncovered shimmered in the sunlight. A lost wedding ring, buried beneath spring-soaked soil. The boy gasped. His grandmother froze in the doorway. She had buried that ring with her husband's memory, or so she thought. The dog stood still, tail low, eyes locked on hers. He did not bark. He waited, and that silence said more than anything. She stepped forward, hand trembling. The paw prints led her back to something she thought she had lost forever. But where did this dog come from? And how did he know exactly where to dig? What he unearthed was not just gold. It was their past. Before we continue, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe so you never miss. The rain had stopped just before dawn, leaving the earth heavy and dark with memory. Puddles mirrored the soft gray sky, and the backyard glistened as though it had been scrubbed clean overnight. The air smelled of old bark, wet grass, and something else. Something buried. Tommy sat at the edge of the porch, a plastic magnifying glass hanging loosely from his fingers. He liked to look at ants up close, at petals, sometimes even his own skin. Today, though, he was not really looking at anything. His feet swung above the steps, his sneakers damp from the mist that still clung to the ground. He was small for 10, with a mop of messy brown hair and the quiet air of a boy who asked questions more often in his head than out loud. Behind him, the screen door creaked open. Maria stepped out, holding a chipped mug of tea between both hands. She wore her late husband's old cardigan, the one with worn elbows and a smell that never quite faded. Her silver hair was pulled back, though a few strands curled loose around her face. She paused, watching her grandson, then the yard. Her gaze lingered on the hydrangea bush, now heavy with beads of water. She said softly, "Try not to dig up the garden today." Tommy gave a small nod. He knew the rules. That part of the yard was hers, or maybe it had been his grandfather's. Either way, it was not for playing. For a moment, all was still. Then Tommy tilted his head. A faint sound, almost like scratching. He turned toward the side gate. Something moved behind it. A shuffle, a pause, a breath. Then the dog appeared. He stepped through the gap like he had always belonged there. Golden fur, matted with mud and rain, clung to a narrow frame. He looked young but worn, like something once beloved, now forgotten by time. He did not bark. He did not run. He simply looked around the yard like he was searching for something specific. Maria straightened. "Tommy?" she said, the tension in her voice wrapping around his name like a thread. "Come inside." But Tommy did not move. The dog was walking. Along the fence line, nose low, tail still. Not afraid, not curious, focused. Tommy said quietly, "I think he is looking for something." The dog circled toward the flower bed. He paused near the hydrangea bush. His head lowered. Then, without hesitation, he began to dig. Maria took a step forward. "No, no, no. Get away from there," she said, her voice rising with something that was not just fear. It was deeper, older. But Tommy was already standing. "Wait! Look at him!" The dog's front paws moved in perfect rhythm, like he had done this before. Not wild or frantic, deliberate. Each scoop of mud flung behind him until a small hole formed beneath the bush. He sniffed once, then dug again. Then he stopped. There was a soft sound, metal against stone. Tommy took a step closer. The dog bent down, nose brushing the dirt. Carefully, as though it were fragile, he nudged something upward with his snout. A ring. Gold. Dulled by time. Crusted with bits of soil. Tommy blinked. He found a ring. Maria froze. The dog backed away. He looked directly at her now. She stared at the spot beneath the bush, then at the ring glinting in the mud. Her breath hitched. The tea mug slipped from her hand and shattered on the porch. Steps. No, she whispered. That is not possible. Tommy turned. Do you know it? Maria did not answer. She moved forward slowly, one foot after the other, as though the earth beneath her had changed and might give way if she stepped too hard. She knelt beside the ring, ignoring the wet ground. Her fingers shook as she picked it up. The mud fell, away in clumps. The engraving inside caught what little light filtered through the clouds. Jaib M forever. She closed her eyes. I buried this, she said quietly. After the funeral. I could not wear it anymore. I buried it here. No one knew. Tommy looked at the dog. The dog looked at Maria. He had not moved. Maria stood slowly. The ring was cradled in her palm, as though it might vanish again if she blinked. How did he know? Tommy knelt beside the dog. He did not reach out yet. He waited. The dog took a step toward them. Maria's eyes were wet now. This ring. She stopped, then tried again. I put it in the ground because it hurt too much to look at it. I thought I was letting go. Tommy said, Maybe he thinks you are ready to take it back. The dog sat, as though that was the answer. Maria let out a slow breath. Her eyes drifted down to the trail of paw prints he had left behind. They cut across the yard like stitches, in the earth. She asked softly, Where did you come from? The dog tilted his head. She crouched again, and this time she reached out. Not to grab, just to rest her hand nearby. The dog leaned in and pressed his nose to her fingers. She closed her eyes. Tommy finally spoke the words he had been holding in his chest. Can he stay? Maria opened her eyes. The sky had begun to shift. The clouds parted slightly, letting a sliver of sun break through. It lit the ring in her hand and the dog's fur, casting them both in a gentle glow. She did not answer. Not yet. But she did not say no. And as she stood with the ring in her hand, the dog at her feet, and her grandson beside them, she realized she was not standing in a backyard anymore. She was standing at the edge of something returning. Something that had once been buried, and now, maybe, was ready to be found. Maria stood at the sink, her hands deep in soapy water, though the dish she had been scrubbing for the past 5 minutes had long since been cleaned. Her mind drifted, back to the weight of the ring in her hand, the way the dog had pressed his nose to her fingers, the question Tommy had asked. Can he stay? She had not answered, but she had not told the dog to leave either. That meant something. Through the window, she could see Tommy crouched at the edge of the porch again, the magnifying glass in his hand, and beside him, the dog. Dusty, Tommy had called him. She did not know why. Maybe because of the mud still caked on his coat. Maybe because he looked like something lost in the wind. Dusty had not wandered off. He stayed close, like a thread quietly sewing itself into the fabric of their lives. Maria reached into the drying rack and pulled out a small plate, setting it beside a larger one on the table. She hesitated. Then, with a quiet sigh, she opened a lower cabinet and pulled out a third. The sound of the front door opening drew her from her thoughts. "Mama?" It was her daughter, Sophia, Tommy's mother. She had stopped by unexpectedly, as she often did now that Maria was alone. The two women embraced, their routines practiced but not effortless. There was always a small weight between them, grief, the quiet kind, the one that grows roots in silence. "Tommy is out back," Maria said. Sophia arched an eyebrow. "Still with that dog?" Maria nodded. Sophia looked out the window. "He has not left?" "No," Maria said. "Not once." Sophia turned to her. "You have to be careful. Strays are unpredictable." Maria picked up a towel and began drying her hands. "He is not like that. He is different." Sophia gave her a look. That soft skepticism children give to their parents when they begin to sound like believers. Maria held up the ring, now clean, gleaming. "He found this." Sophia blinked. "Wait, is that?" Maria nodded. "I buried it years ago. No one knew." Sophia stared, then looked back outside. Dusty was now lying beside Tommy, both of them watching something invisible in the grass. "That is strange," Sophia said. Maria smiled faintly. "Strange?" "Yes." Out on the porch, Tommy shifted onto his stomach and held the magnifying glass over a trail of ants. Dusty's head rested on his paws, eyes blinking slowly. "Do you think he has a family?" Tommy asked, his voice soft. Dusty did not answer. He just flicked one ear. Tommy said, "Maybe they lost him. Maybe they miss him every day." He paused. "Or maybe they gave him away." Dusty let out a low breath through his nose. Tommy leaned close and whispered, "You do not have to go back if it hurt." Behind them, Maria appeared in the doorway. "I made breakfast," she said. "For 3. Tommy lit up. "Can he come inside?" Maria looked at Dusty. He stood slowly, as if asking permission. She stepped aside, and that was that. Inside, Dusty walked carefully, as though the walls might not hold him. His paws left faint prints on the tile. He sniffed the corners, the legs of chairs, the edge of the rug that had not moved in years. When he reached the table, he looked up, not begging, not whining, just waiting. Maria placed a small bowl of plain scrambled eggs on the floor. He ate like someone who had known hunger. Fast, but not greedy. Tommy sat at the table swinging his legs. "He is so good." Sophia watched quietly, arms crossed. Maria touched the ring still on the counter. "He brought this back to me." Sophia looked away. "I did not even know you buried it." Maria's voice lowered. "Some things are too hard to say, even to the people we love." Silence fell between them. Outside, the wind picked up. Later that morning, Tommy and Dusty returned to the backyard. Tommy had started drawing with sidewalk chalk. Planets, constellations, arrows leading nowhere. Dusty followed each line, sometimes placing a paw gently in the middle of a sun. Tommy giggled. "You ruined Saturn." Dusty sat down unbothered. They were like that for hours, side by side, the dog like a shadow made of warmth. Maria watched from the porch, a cup of tea in her hands. She could not remember the last time the yard felt alive. She thought of her husband, how he used to whistle through his teeth while planting, how he laughed when he accidentally pulled up his own shoelaces while weeding. That ring, the one Dusty had found, had not just been metal. It had been part of her tether to a life that no longer existed. And now, because of a dog with muddy paws, It was back in her hand. That night, she left the porch light on. The next morning, Dusty was still there. On the third day, Maria found herself setting her alarm earlier, just to check if he had left. He never did. On the fifth day, she washed his fur. He stood still while she poured warm water over his back. He closed his eyes when she ran her fingers through the tangles. She felt the weight of every scar beneath his coat, silent stories in his skin. When she finished, he shook off gently, then leaned into her, just once. "A thank you," she whispered. "You have been through something, haven't you?" Dusty blinked. That night, Tommy drew a picture of the three of them. Him, Grandma, Dusty. The dog looked like a lion, but Maria did not correct him. She took the drawing and put it on the fridge. Later, when she passed the window, she saw the three sets of footprints in the dirt. Tommy's small shoes, her own, and Dusty's paw prints, scattered, certain, leading right to the door. She pressed her fingers to the glass. There was no denying it now. He was not visiting. He was home. It had been a week since Dusty arrived, and already the house felt different. Maria noticed it in the smallest of ways. The silence in the mornings, once heavy and sharp, now hummed with life. She no longer moved from task to task like a ghost haunting her own routines. Now there were pauses, unexpected laughter, the sound of paws against tile, a new heartbeat in the house. She caught herself humming once while slicing apples for Tommy's lunch. The sound startled her so much she stopped mid-slice and looked out the window, almost embarrassed. Dusty was lying in the yard, his head resting on his paws, watching butterflies with the kind of stillness that came from knowing how to wait. She whispered, "I had forgotten what it felt like to hum." That afternoon, Tommy ran inside, breathless. He held up his magnifying glass like it was a trophy. Dusty found something again. Maria dried her hands. "Another ring?" Tommy grinned. "No, but kind of. Come see." Out in the yard, Dusty was digging again, carefully, methodically, in the far corner near the fence. Tommy had drawn chalk arrows all around him, like a map only the two of them could read. Maria crouched beside them and looked down at the hole. It was not much, just the edge of an old shoebox, waterlogged and caked in mud. Tommy reached in and lifted it free. The cardboard sagged, and the lid fell away. Inside was a bundle of old photographs, blurry, yellowed with time, and beneath them a small cloth bag. Tommy opened it and gasped. Marbles, dozens of them. Swirled glass in all colors, some chipped, some perfect. "I used to play with these," Maria said softly. "I buried this box when your mother was little." Tommy looked up. "Why?" Maria smiled sadly. "Because I did not want her to break them." Dusty sat beside her, tail thumping once. "Why did he find this?" Tommy asked. Maria shook her head. "Maybe he knows what we try to forget." Later, she wiped each marble clean and placed them in a bowl on the windowsill. In the morning light, they lit the kitchen like stained glass. Sophia visited again that Sunday. She stood in the doorway and stared at the marbles. "You saved these?" she asked. "No," Maria said. "Dusty did." Sophia glanced at the dog, who was curled up beside the heater vent, one paw twitching in a dream. "You are really keeping him?" Maria did not look away. "He is already here." Sophia crossed her arms. "What if someone comes looking for him?" Tommy, overhearing, rushed in from the other room. "No one is coming. He picked us." Sophia hesitated. "That is not how it works." Tommy stood firm. "It is how it should work." Dusty woke and walked to Tommy, resting his head gently against the boy's leg. Maria watched her grandson stroke the dog's ears and said, "Some things you do not choose. They choose you." Sophia sighed. "Fine, but at least get him to a vet, and maybe a bath that does not involve the garden hose." Maria nodded. "We will, on Monday." That night, Maria opened an old wooden box she had not touched in years. Inside were her husband's keepsakes, an old watch, a faded pocket square, and a letter he had written the week before he passed. She never read it. She had been too afraid. Now, with Dusty asleep at her feet and Tommy drawing galaxies on the floor, she unfolded it. It was short, just 3 lines. "If you are reading this, then I am gone. I hope something reminds you to feel again. Not everything buried needs to stay that way." She read it twice, then folded it and placed it beside the ring on the windowsill. Outside, rain began to fall again. Soft, cleansing. In the days that followed, Dusty became a fixture in the neighborhood. People started waving more when they passed the house. Some stopped to ask about him. Tommy, proud as a new brother, told the story with dramatic flair, how Dusty had found a secret ring, unearthed buried treasure, and knew how to listen without words. The story traveled. People remembered it. A few left treats on the steps. One woman, walking her terrier, even asked, "Do you think he is some kind of angel?" Maria had chuckled. "No, just a dog. A very good one." At the vet, Dusty was calm. The vet said he was underweight but healthy. No chip, no collar, no recent reports of missing golden mixes. "He might have been on his own a long time," the vet said. "But he is lucky. Not many find their way back to warmth." Tommy beamed. He did not just find warmth. He made it. On the way home, Maria stopped at the store and bought a collar. Blue, with a silver tag. She let Tommy pick the name. He wrote, in careful block letters, "Dusty, finder of things." That night, Maria lit a candle by the kitchen sink, not for mourning, but for gratitude. The house glowed in a way it had not in years. As she passed by Tommy's room, she saw Dusty curled at the foot of the bed. Tommy had fallen asleep mid-sentence in a book, the magnifying glass still in his hand. She stood in the doorway a long time, then she whispered into the dark, "Thank you." Whether she meant the dog, her husband, or the quiet force that had led him here, she was not sure. Maybe all 3. By the second week, Dusty had a bed by the fireplace. An old blanket Maria had kept tucked in the back of the linen closet, one her husband used to nap under in the afternoons. It still carried the faint scent of cedar and old soap. Dusty circled it once, twice, then collapsed onto it like he had always known it was his. Tommy insisted on leaving one of his socks there, too. So he knows we are not going anywhere. Dusty licked the sock once, then fell asleep with his nose resting gently on top of it. Outside, autumn pushed forward. The trees were beginning to glow at the edges. Gold, like Dusty's fur. Red, like Tommy's cheeks when he came in from chasing leaves. The wind had turned playful. Change was in the air, and not all of it was quiet. One morning, Maria opened the front door and found a note pinned to the mailbox. It was written in a hurried scrawl. "That golden dog. He looks familiar. Call me if he's yours." Below it, a name and number. Maria stared at it For a long time, Dusty sat at her feet, as if he already knew. She did not call. Instead, she folded the paper and slipped it into her pocket. Then she reached down and ran her hand along Dusty's back. "You are here now," she whispered. "That is all that matters." But even as she said it, her hand lingered over the tag hanging from his new collar. Finder of Things. And her heart clenched. Later that day, she took Tommy and Dusty to the library. Tommy had been working on a finder's journal, a notebook where he documented everything Dusty uncovered. So far, it included the wedding ring, the buried marbles, 3 old coins near the fence, a lost sock that was not his, and a rusty key with no lock. "He has a gift," Tommy told the librarian proudly. "He finds things that are missing." The librarian smiled. "That is a rare gift. Hold on to it." They did. Back home, Maria stood at the sink, drying dishes, when she heard barking. Not Dusty's. Out the window, she saw 2 dogs at the edge of the fence. Mutts, lean and sharp-eyed. Strays. Dusty had wandered closer, tail stiff. Not aggressive, just alert. Then she heard it, a sound low in Dusty's throat. Not a growl. Not exactly. But something cautious. Protective. Maria opened the door. "Dusty!" He looked back at her, then trotted to the porch. The other dogs scattered. She knelt beside him. "Do you know them?" Dusty did not respond. But that night, he slept facing the door, ears twitching in his dreams. The next day, Sophia returned. She noticed the note on the counter. "What is this?" Maria wiped her hands. "Someone thinks they might know Dusty." Sophia frowned. "Are you going to call them?" "No." Sophia paused. "Do you not want to know?" Maria looked out the ID window. Dusty and Tommy were in the yard. The boy had tied a red ribbon to Dusty's collar. "A marker," he said, "for important missions." "I do not need to know," Maria said. "He is not who he was. He is who he is here." "But what if he has a family out there?" Maria's voice was steady. "Then they should have been looking for him." Sophia did not argue, but she took a photo of the note with her phone before she left. That evening, Maria sat with Tommy on the porch. Dusty lay between them, his head resting on Maria's feet. Tommy asked, "Do you think he misses someone?" Maria answered slowly, "Maybe. But I think he misses things less than most." "Why?" "Because he brings things back." Tommy smiled. "Even hearts." Maria looked at him. "Especially hearts." The wind rustled the trees, and a few leaves fell around them. Suddenly, Dusty sat up, his ears perked. He stared toward the street. Maria followed his gaze. A man stood at the edge of the sidewalk, just beyond the gate. Tall, lean. In his hand, a leash. Dusty's body went still. The man called out, "Cooper?" Dusty did not move. The man stepped closer. "It is you, isn't it?" Tommy whispered. "What is he doing?" Maria stood slowly. "I do not know." The man opened the gate. Dusty rose to his feet but did not approach. The man knelt. "I lost you 6 months ago. During the move. You ran. I searched everywhere." Maria took a step forward. "His name is Dusty." The man looked at her. "His name is Cooper. I rescued him 2 years ago. He is mine." Tommy grabbed Maria's hand. Dusty stood between them, not moving toward either side. The man extended the leash. "Come on, boy. Let's go home." Dusty looked at Tommy, then at Maria, then at the man, and stayed where he was. Maria swallowed. He does not want to leave. The man hesitated. Maybe he is just confused. Tommy said, No, he is found. Dusty let out a low, quiet breath. The man stared at him, then at the house. He saw the blanket by the fireplace, the toys near the porch, the red ribbon on Dusty's collar. He lowered the leash. I do not know what he found here, he said, but it must be something good. Maria nodded. It is. The man stepped back. If you ever change your mind, I will not. He looked at Dusty one last time. Be happy, Cooper. Dusty did not follow him. He turned, slowly, and pressed his head against Tommy's chest. Tommy whispered, You chose us. And that night, for the first time, Dusty slept not at the door, but in Tommy's bed. The first snow came gently, like a hush settling over the world. Tommy pressed his face to the window, his breath fogging the glass. Outside, the yard was transforming. Each blade of grass, every bare branch, wore a sugar-white coat. Even the hydrangea bush, the place where Dusty had first uncovered the ring, stood cloaked in soft snow, its twisted stalks frozen in time. Do you think he likes snow? Tommy asked. Dusty, curled beside the heater, lifted his head at the sound of his name. He stretched, stood, and padded over to the front door. His breath left a warm patch on the glass. Maria chuckled softly. He used to be a finder. Now he is a weatherman. Tommy grinned. He is still a finder. She nodded. Yes, just different things now. That morning, Maria wrapped an old scarf around her neck and opened the front door. Dusty was the first one out, nose to the wind, tail high, every step sinking just slightly into the fresh snow. Tommy followed, bundled in layers, magnifying glass slung around his neck like a pendant. They played for hours. Dusty chased snowflakes, dug tunnels in soft drifts, and barked at falling icicles. He looked years younger. Tommy threw snowballs that never reached their target. They laughed until their cheeks burned. Maria watched from the porch, the ring around her finger catching the winter sun. She wore it now, not every day, but some days, the important ones. The ones where she needed to remember that grief was not the end of a story, just a chapter. That night, she pulled a book from the shelf she had avoided for years, her husband's old photo album. Inside were decades of pictures, birthdays, beach trips, blurry backyard barbecues. She carried it to the living room, where Tommy was curled beside Dusty. Want to see what he looked like? She asked. Tommy's eyes lit up. Yes, they turned, page after page. Her husband with a goofy grin and grass-stained pants, holding a baby version of Sophia, wearing the same cardigan Maria still refused to part with. I wish I met him, Tommy whispered. Maria placed a hand on his head. He would have liked you. Dusty rested his chin on Tommy's lap, eyes watching the flicker of the fireplace. In the days that followed, something began to shift in Dusty. Not in any dramatic way, but slower, softer, like a candle quietly burning lower. He slept more, climbed stairs more carefully, walked just a little slower behind Tommy. Maria noticed first. She began warming his food instead of serving it cold, added a second blanket to his bed. She rubbed his hips gently after long walks. Tommy noticed too, but he said nothing, just stayed close. Drew pictures of the two of them. read aloud beside. Dusty even when the dog was already asleep. The vet said gently, "He is older than you thought. His body is catching up." Tommy asked, "Is he okay?" The vet paused. "He is not in pain, but he is tired." At home, Tommy did not cry. Instead, he opened his journal, the Finder's Journal, and added a new entry. He found a family. That is the biggest treasure. Then he drew a heart. Inside it, a paw print, a ring, and a boy. One morning, Dusty did not get up when Tommy opened the front door. He just blinked, wagged his tail once, and closed his eyes again. Tommy whispered, "You do not have to play today. Just rest." Maria called the school and said Tommy would stay home. The day passed slowly. Tommy sat beside Dusty and told him stories about stars, about dragons, about a secret map he was making that led from their yard to the moon. Dusty listened, or maybe he dreamed. That night, Maria lit the candle again. The next morning, Dusty did not rise. His breathing was soft, shallow, but steady. Maria sat beside him, holding the ring in her hand. Tommy crawled next to her and placed the magnifying glass on the floor. "He is not gone," he said. She looked at him, startled. Tommy pointed to the paw prints outside. "He is still here. He is just finding a new place to be." Maria blinked. Her heart ached and stretched at the same time. They stayed there, the three of them, in the glow of morning light. That afternoon, Dusty took his last breath. It was gentle, like the final exhale of a long, full day. Tommy did not scream. He did not run. He wrapped his arms around Dusty and whispered, "Thank you." Maria placed the ring gently on the floor beside his paw, and later, when they laid him beneath the hydrangea bush, the place where everything had begun, they did not say goodbye. They said, "You found us." Days passed, then weeks. The snow melted. Buds returned to the trees. One day, Tommy ran into the kitchen, breathless. "Look!" He held a small metal locket in his hand, covered in dirt. "I was digging near the bush and found this." It was under the soil, right where Dusty used to dig. Maria took it gently, opened it. Inside was a photo, faded, water-stained, a man holding a golden retriever. Dusty, younger, whole, and on the back, in scratched handwriting, "Finder of a things." Maria smiled. Tommy grinned. "He left it for us." She looked out at the yard, the flower bed, the paw prints, the patch of earth that would forever carry his memory. And she whispered, "Of course he did." That evening, Maria placed the locket on the windowsill beside the ring, and for the first time in a long time, she lit the porch light. Not because she was afraid of the dark, but because she knew someone, somewhere, might still be looking for what they had lost. And this house, this family, would always be ready to help them find it. Dogs truly are the most loyal companions in our lives. What did you think of this heartwarming story? Let us know in the comments. Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily emotional dog stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click here to watch the next story of love, loyalty, and the incredible bond we share with our pawsome friends.